Hello, 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 everybody. Thanks for joining us and welcome to It's Life Live. I'm running solo tonight, so you're going to have to bear with me. I really appreciate you coming in and spending your Wednesday night with me alone tonight, but that's all right. We're going to be able to handle it. Uh, so if you have not been here before, welcome to It's Life Live, sponsored by Clear Journey. And my name is Juan Lee, the founder of Clear Journey. We are a nonprofit that's here to support individuals, families, all that are in search of challenge, of search of answers to life's challenges. We're here to provide education and resources so that you can navigate life more successfully. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the path, the journey, the navigating the road to wealth. Um, that's something that we all have this the desire to attain this thing called wealth, but the journey is in navigating that to be able to attain that. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about that tonight. But before we get to that, let's just explain a little bit of who I am and why I'm here and what I'm doing here. And that is that I'm an author of a book called Love Made Simple. It's a book called Love Made Simple, The Guide to Inner Peace, Contentment, and Success. And that is the foundation for a clear journey. It's based on the attitudes of love that we begin to establish the mindset that's necessary to navigate life successfully. And so that is the foundation of the of clear journey, and it's about having the right mindset to be able to navigate all of the various areas of life. We don't really realize that we are on a journey until something happens to us, and then we all find ourselves that how do we navigate this? And what clear journey is all about is trying to help you prepare for some of those things that otherwise have not been thought about until they occur. And so what we try to do is to prepare you, give you some tools so that you'll be prepared when challenges occur. And if by chance you didn't have those tools when the challenge occurred, that we can help you navigate them if that occurs. So that being said, that's why we're here to support you and help you in your journey so that you can live your most fulfilling life. And that's where we came to here with the one of the areas that we support, and that's finance, your finances. And that's where we are have been for the last few weeks. And that has been preparing us for our webinar that's coming up in April. And that's about how to protect your wealth, or you're on your journey to your wealth. And so what we that is all about is the webinar that we're going to be having on April the 20th. And we have some professionals that are going to be there helping us to be able to navigate that journey a little bit better. And so if that is something that you're concerned about or you're interested in, find out more about that. You can email me at clearjourney.org, and we will send that information out to you to register for that event. Coming up in the next few weeks, we will have that also attached to our website, and you'll be able to go there and click and register for that also. But that being said, we're going to get right into what we're here to talk about tonight, and that is how to navigate this thing called. I mean, we've been talking about the various things. We've had guests on over the last few weeks, and they have been talking about some of the bigger issues as it relates to retiring debt free, how to establish a legacy, and also how to establish the various components of thoughts, the things about getting out of debt and staying out of debt, having a budget. And what we're going to do is that budget is the thing that's really the journey. That's really a part of the journey. And the first thing that we have to talk about is how do you organize your finances? Your finances. You know, we talked about wealth and what wealth is. So I guess we haven't. Let's talk. Wealth is an abundance of valuable materials and resources. So we're going to be trying to acquire all of this abundance of resources. And we want to be able to do it in a way that's safe for the journey. And when we get to the end of the journey, is that wealth is that what we have, and that's something that we can offer and we can provide to our the next generation, or to our family, our legacy, so it is our wealth, so to speak. So what is it about that? So the first thing we have to do is we have to determine where we are, where our starting point is. You know, what are our finances? What is our financial situation? How do you do that? You find out what your assets are and what your liabilities are. Liabilities are debt, assets are savings, investments, properties, anything that you have that's valuable is what this is, your finances are. And so when we talk about building and navigating this road, it's about first and foremost establishing and determining where we are. If we don't have debt, that's great. That is absolutely great in this pursuit for wealth, because debt is something that prevents us from being able to get there. So that, you know, that's the first thing we have to do, is to identify it. We can't put ourselves, you know, put our head in a hole and accept and expect the fact that if we got debt, that it's going to go away by itself. That's not going to happen. The assets is those things that we want to use to build the wealth. So again, we have liabilities working against us, assets helping us, trying to assist us. Um, After we get to that point, the next thing is that we have to establish and set some type of financial goals for ourselves. Um, there are three types of goals that we can establish, or that we want to be able to establish. There's short term, medium term, and long term goals. These are very important because, you know, short term goals are something that we can really, you know, put a feather in our hat with and say, okay, that we felt it out, we understand what it's about, we've gained a little bit of confidence in what we're doing. And the midterm, or the middle type of goals, it's a little bit more involved. It's going to take a little bit more time, but that's all going to determine on basically how committed you are. It's going to begin to establish that commitment that you are to building this wealth that we're talking about, is establishing and maintaining, and to being able to maintain and accomplish the mid-range goals. And then we have that long-term goal. And just as to be clear, the long-term goals is could be this wealth that we're referring to. We might all, in most time, we talk to about as a retirement. You know, how do we prepare for retirement? That's a long-term goal. You know, hopefully we come into this knowledge at this, that we need to manage our finances at an early enough point that we can, that can be a long-term goal. You know, so many of us, or many of us, I'm not going to say a lot, but a lot of us, do a lot of us, we wait until the last minute to address something that was really meant to be planned over a long period of time. Um, you know, certain things like retirement, funds for your children's education. These are things that, you know, if we start early, it doesn't hurt as much on the journey. Sometimes we let the journey, you know, play itself out, and then all of a sudden we get further down the journey and we realize, oh, we haven't prepared. And that was some of the things that I think Bertha was talking to us about in retiring debt free. And that was that she got to a point where she was some ways down the road, and she said, okay, hey, what am I going to do now? I can't have all this debt going into retirement. My funds, my resources aren't going to be as prevalent as they were, you know, along this journey. And so what do I do now? So ideally we can back that up as early as we can and begin to start to plan. Again, remember, planning will allow for us to be able to navigate a little bit better in this journey, so that it won't be so painful. And so let's just go back. A short-term goal, just to give you some idea of what a short-term goal, if you have some debt, a short-term goal would be like, okay, I want to pay that off. I want to get, if it's a credit card, I want to pay that credit card off. Short-term debt, hopefully it's a short-term debt. You know, if it's not something that has a tremendous balance on it, it can be something that maybe can be accomplished in maybe 6 to 12 months. That's a short-term goal. And then a medium term goal is something like an emergency fund. An emergency fund is a little bit dicey in the sense because it talks about 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Okay. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. You know, let's start with 3 months and work to 6 months, because you're basically saying, how do you get there? And that's going to be interesting, because the process in which we're talking about right here in organizing our finances is going to be the place where you're going to determine what your expenses are. Okay. And that's going to be very interesting, but that's what that goal is. Now that could take some time. That could take maybe, you know, 2 to 3 years for you to be able to save up. That's just based on how much you're spending, or how much money you have left after you're paying your bills and thing like. And that really goes back to another thing where if you're living above your means, meaning in other words, you're spending more money every month than you're bringing in, and you're offsetting that with putting it on a credit card and stuff like that, that's going to make this emergency fund that much more difficult to be able to obtain, or to get that 3 to 6 months, because the money that you're talking about establishing this emergency fund with is money that is not already spent, not already, that you're not spending this money every month over and over. In other words, you're living beneath your income. If you're making $1,000 every week, you're living, your expenses are about, you know, $600 or $700 a week. Or if you say a month and you say you make $5,000 a month, your expenses are somewhere in the neighborhood less than $5,000 a month. So in other words, every month you're saving some money. Maybe you're not putting it in the right place, but you're not spending it all right now. And what this emergency fund comes from, that margin between what you make and what you don't spend. That's where you establish your emergency fund from. And if there is no money there, you can't establish this emergency fund. So it needs, and again, this is why we talk about this journey. It's knowing this information and having that idea that, hey, I gotta live beneath my earnings. You know, if that means that I'm gonna stop, going to getting that $6 cup of coffee, or going out one weekend out of the month, instead of, going out every weekend, you start to go out one weekend, and you make that, that you create that margin between where you are, the money that you're making, and the money that you're saving or not spending at this point. It's just not spending. You might not know where you're putting it, but you're not spending it. And that's the biggest part about being able to establish this emergency fund. And then when it comes to retirement and that long range, again, once you establish and learn how to establish that emergency fund, it makes establishing those long range goals that much easier. And as it relates to preparing for your children to go to college or retirement, once you've gotten that margin where you have that space where you can begin to put money aside, that money that you were putting into that emergency fund, once that's established, that's where this money becomes that you use for retirement. Now, the way you set these goals to determine them, there's this acronym called SMART, and it's basically talks about specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. So basically, we're talking about Not only are these goals something that is specific to what's important to you, but they're measurable, they're obtainable, you can achieve them. They're relevant to where your goals are, to what things you're trying to accomplish. Just to be able to make a goal, but it doesn't have any relevance to what you stand for, doesn't really help you in being able to accomplish your fulfillment in your life. So it has to be relevant, and then you need to put a time bound on it. You have to say, okay, this is how long I want to do it, this is how long I want to take. When you think about a long-term goal, and you say, okay, retirement, that's a benefit, because if you're looking at it, typically, we work 30, 35 years, and you say, okay, that's the amount of time that I have to prepare for my retirement. That's that time bound. You look at your children and you go, they're going to go to college, and it's at 18 they go to college. They're born, and you got 18 years to get there. That's that time bound. So I mean, it's a part of setting goals that you want to be in, as give yourself as much time as you can to accomplish that goal. And that's why, but you want to be able to have a time bound, uh bound on that goal, because that makes it, again, something that gets us an accomplishment. So again, we've got to assess our situation, our financial situation, and then we've got to establish some financial goals. And then we get to the very fun part, and that is creating the budget. Okay. You know, this was probably the most challenging part for me, because, again, once I decided I wanted to be in control of my finances, as a young man, uh, my way of being able to control my expenses was to not spend any money. That works pretty much. It worked for me up until I got married, to be honest with you, because I knew what I was spending, but at the same time, I really didn't know what I was spending, because I just didn't spend any money. But life doesn't work like that for too long, and so for the most part, couldn't live that life, on and on and on. But creating this budget is, once you get the first two things down, and here's the first real challenge, based on where you are when you come into this knowledge, or accepting the fact that, hey, I want to do this. And that is creating the categories of your expenses, creating that, and understanding what the categories are. You know, I think I really began to start budgeting and thinking the need to budget after I got married, and we moved into our home. We bought a home right when we got married, and we were having to be exposed to things that we had otherwise never had to be exposed to. And it was like all the things that we never took into consideration. Um, and we had to then, okay, look at how this impacts our finances. And that was something that, up until then, you know, lights came on because the bill was paid, but I never had to pay the bill. The water came on because the water came. I never had to pay the water bill. Now, not to say that I didn't, but I was in the military, up until I got married, until a couple years before I got out, and then went back home. But that was something that I wasn't on a regular. And so that's not to say that you haven't done it, but you're going to have to determine, because it's different. Your budget's going to look different living in an apartment versus living in a home. You know, it's just inevitable. There's more things that go along with owning a home than it does with living in an apartment. So these are the things that I'm talking about. Identifying the categories of your expenses is the first thing that you need to do. And one of those things, in how to do that, is determining, your obligated expenses versus your designated expenses. Obligated expenses are legally bound expenses. things that you've already promised to somebody. Monies, and you gotta, you've made a bill, and that money is obligated. You can't spend that money. It isn't yours, as a matter of fact. You've got their product. You've promised them that you're going to pay them X amount of money every month. That's obligated money. Okay. Designated money is money that you set aside to do something that you can do whatever you want. You can send it, you can spend it, you can save it, you can do anything, and it's at a moment's notice. You can change it anytime you want. Now, that will be a decision that you would have to make, but the better you're able to leave those designated monies alone, the better you are in the long run. So let's just understand it. It's called fixed. You have these types of expenses called fixed and variable. Now, fixed expenses are like things like your rent. It's not going to change. Your car note. It's not going to change. Um, Variable ones are like groceries, dining out, entertainment, things that you do that the price of it changes based on what it is that you do. Okay, those are those things that you have to understand. Those are the ones that, for the most part, really impact those other things that we do. Those things, those rents and mortgage and utilities and insurances. Those things are fixed expenses that we allow our variable expenses to eat away at them, and we don't recognize them. And that's how we get to the point where we use other means to fill in those gaps. And we don't want to use those other means to fill in those gaps, because that's, again, borrowing money that you don't have. And so that's the biggest thing, is creating and being committed to continue to stay committed to this budget that you've established. What is you've established as important, maintain it. That's critical. Then, in the process of establishing your emergency fund, again, like we talked about, it can be even 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. And all this is basically a cushion for, in the sake of an emergency, something happens, some unexpected expense comes up, your car breaks down, a illness happens. It's just something that gives you a cushion that is out of the unusual. Something happens unusual that you didn't know was going to happen, but you have those resources there already that you can tap into, so that you can get those, you can accomplish, you can overcome whatever that challenge is for the time. And again, that's what we're here all about, trying to overcome these challenges. And when we have the resources, those challenges are going to come. It's just how well are we prepared for them. So that's what that emergency fund is for. That's vitally important. So by all means, get to the point where you can establish that emergency fund, because with that emergency fund a lot of your challenges will go away. A lot of your unexpected challenges will go away with that emergency fund. Okay. The next one is managing your debt and building credit. Okay. This is where we begin to pay off high interest debt. Okay. This is where you begin to make the decisions that are going to impact this journey as soon as you possibly can. Okay. Because this debt, this credit card debt, there's a reason that the United States carries so much debt, is because we spend money and we don't think about it until the bill is due. And the bill is basically keeping us from being able to build wealth. And so what we want to do is understand, if you got 2 credit cards, one has credit card and the interest is at 15% and the other one's at 21%, you want to pay the one down at 21% sooner than later than the one with 16% or 15%, because guess what? There's another 6% interest that you're paying that credit card than you are on the other one. So that's how you want to manage your debt. If you have multiple credit cards, you want to get the one that has the highest amount of credit, and you want to get that down as soon as possible so that you can move on to the next one. And then understand what your options are when you're dealing with debt. If you are a homeowner, and I know you have to be able to understand a little bit more about this, but your home is not necessarily debt. It's an asset that you have to pay on, but the reason that it's not a debt is that it increases in value. Okay, the difference between your car and your home or anything else that you buy that does not increase in value instantaneously, if you're paying on it, it falls under the debt category. Other than your home, your home is an asset that appreciates in value that you can use to offset some of that debt that you have on that consumer credit card. So that is something that now again, this takes a process of getting to know and understand. But when we talk about consolidating debt and negotiating, if you know that your home is an asset that is increasing in value, there's a way that you can get that extra value out of that home to pay off some of those things that are chipping away at your ability to create wealth. Okay. Now I know that's a whole nother area, and maybe we'll get into it. We'll have some mortgage brokers and things like that to come on, and we can talk more about that. But that is an asset. Your home is an asset, not a liability. And I know that's difficult because we talk about it. If you're paying on it, how is that not debt? Because it increases in value and you can tap into that value. Again, that's a resource for you. So however you can build a positive credit health history in this process, even in the process of paying down your debt, you want to be able to also maintain a positive credit history. How do you do that? By paying your bills on time. Do not allow yourself to get caught up in, okay, stealing from Peter to pay Paul, because it's going to affect. I don't know if you've ever heard that saying, but the stealing from Peter to pay Paul is basically you're not paying one bill to pay another bill, and then you're using other resources to pay another bill, but taking away from other resources to pay another bill. You're just kicking the can down the street, and you're stealing from one to pay the other one. You don't want to do that because it's a trick that you will probably never get out of. So what you want to do is maintain paying off those other debts, even while you're trying to pay off that high interest rate. Continue to pay the minimum on those other ones. Don't let those fall off to the side based on trying to pay for those. Pay that other one off, but just be steadfast across the board. Also, understand that what you're building during that time is your credit, which is another asset. Your credit is another asset because it's basically speaking to those who you would in the future want to borrow money from, telling them and showing you your reliability in paying them back. So that's why that's very important. So the 5 things that we want to do in being able to organize ourselves. Again, remember, we want to find out where we are in our finances. We want to establish and set up goals. We want to create a budget. We want to establish a emergency fund. And then we want to manage our debt and build credit better. Okay, we want to build our credit. And then we want to move, and this is the part that's really the challenging part, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't mean to say this because this is the part that makes building wealth the journey. You know, all of the stuff that we talked about yet, it's been setting it up, getting it ready, making sure that we're in the right position to be able to build the wealth. But then we have to maintain what we've built, what we've established. That's journey. It's sort of like we've gotten ready to start the race now. The race is getting ready to start. How do we maintain that consistency, that commitment, so that we can ultimately reach that goal? And here's the thing, this journey is where we want to build our security in also. We want to build that security in our journey. And so the first thing we do is we regularly review our budget. Now, I know I'm the first one that's going to tell you that that ain't always possible. We want to make it thinking that, you know, it's always going to happen. We have got to make time. We have got to make time to review our budget. It doesn't do us any good to make a budget, put all of these things, this data together, and then go back and refer to it. Don't refer to it. That just, we've basically wasted our time. We've got to be willing to understand that building wealth is a journey, and it doesn't happen just because we want it to happen. We have to put the work in. It's the journey. So we've got to review it. Monitor your income and your expenses. Now, if you have a job that you get paid by the hour and you work overtime, then these are going to make you having to monitor and to work, um, review your budget a little bit more regularly, because if your pay is being, it varies from week to week. If you're a commission payer employee, it's going to require you to just say, okay, I made more money or less money this month, and you're going to have to make some more adjustments regularly. So that's necessity. Now, if you acquired a different expense that you didn't have when you initially started, you've got to go back and make that adjustment to your budget. Again, all of these things are about life, and life is going to throw you challenges that you're going to have to adjust to, including your budget. You're going to have to adjust your budget. You're going to have to make those adjustments again that align with your financial goals. Where are you trying to go? Remember those goals, they have to be smart. And again, one of those that were relevant to your ultimate goal. If your goal is your retirement, those decisions on the weekly, monthly basis have to always take into consideration your goals. Just don't be, willy-nilly just making it fit. That's not what it's about. You've got to be consistent, but consistently approaching and pursuing your goals. The second one is making your budget as automated, making your savings and paying bills as automated as possible. That is an advantage that wasn't available when I started this. It wasn't available when I started this. Did not have the ability to make it automated. But now in this day and time, this is a way of avoiding having to pay late fees. If you can set up your bill paying automatically, easiest thing to do. There's no reason that we can't get away from not having to pay late fees. But do you know how much money the institutions make off of late fees? Millions of dollars off just late fees. Hundreds of millions of dollars off of late fees. I mean, this is something that we can do for ourselves, keep money in our pockets, that instead of giving them to institutions that don't need our money. Okay. The other one is using technology and financial apps. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to share with you some apps that I have found to be helpful, and various based on how you operate. Based on how you operate, these apps are more beneficial for you. And we'll talk about that when we get to the end here, and begin to use technology to your advantage. Again, number three is monitor and manage debt. Again, this is a part of the process that you have to be able to know, that's going to keep you on track to reaching your goals. Um, Understand what your debt is and understand what debt is doing to you. And try not to get back into a position of debt. Okay. And I know that's difficult because life is life, life is lifing. But you really want to be able to, again, this is the advantage of having an emergency fund. You don't have to depend on credit when you already have the funds to cover it. And that's what we're trying to eliminate. That's what that emergency fund is for, is to prevent life from lifing at your expense and causing you to put yourself in a hole that prevents you from reaching your ultimate goals. And that's a tremendous benefit in being able to do that. Um, yeah. So that's in essence what monitoring and maintaining your debt, or managing your debt. Number four, review and adjust your financial goals. And this is real critical. Depending on where you start your journey, life is going to change. Things are going to happen over, let's say you're talking about retirement, and you start this journey and you got, you're 25, you're 35, you're 40 years old. Life is changing. You started, you didn't have any children. You started, you didn't have a house, things change. So be willing on regularly to visit your financial goals and make the necessary adjustments. Don't just say, okay, this is what I set and now forget it. No, that's not how this works. You've got to be able to make the adjustments so that you can be able to be consistent with your goal, because the way you're going to reach your goal, trying to accomplish your goal, doesn't mean that that's going to be the actual way you finish reaching your goal. You're going to have to make some adjustments. And only you're going to be able to make those adjustments. Here's the other thing. Celebrate your achievements and milestones. Give yourself some grace and some appreciation and accomplishments. Even if it means, putting some rewards in your budget for accomplishing some goals. Put those things in place. Make it worth your while to accomplish your goal. Whereas is that you can, in a very real time, a present time, say, okay, I'm going to do this when I get that goal. Or, when I get to this part of that goal, I'm going to treat myself to this. Now, again, you don't break the bank to treat yourself and destroy what you've already accomplished. But at the same time, know that, hey, appreciate the fact that that's what you've accomplished. This is another one, and that is prioritize your goals based on the things that are important to you. I know we didn't talk about this when we were talking about goals, and it's understood, but I think sometimes we establish goals that are really not our most priorities. And in some cases, not even ours. It's like, if you don't desire to buy a house, or you desire to buy a car, then don't save money and put money aside for something that you're not interested in and doing. But at the same time, don't allow yourself to understand what's important to you. Let somebody or something else hijack what's important to you. I guess that's a better way of saying it. Don't let something hijack what's important to you and cause you to divert funds, resources that prevents you from reaching your ultimate goals. Okay. Now, this last one is this last and final one. It's educate yourself and seek professional advice. Now, we've talked about a lot of stuff this evening, and it has to do with um, the various ways to navigate this journey to wealth. And there's a lot of nuances in it, I know. And what I wanted to do tonight was to be able to give you an opportunity to know that the work starts when you have when your intentionality, when you decide that you want to begin to put the work in to begin to establish that wealth. It's the journey. And these are the parts of the journey that in all cases people don't necessarily like sometimes. But that's where the commitment to the wealth is. It's in our day-to-day commitment in being able to review, maintain, monitor all of the things that we're doing day to day that gets us to that end goal of wealth building. Okay. And I bring that up to say, if you need help, that's where seek professional advice. This is not a new game. Okay. There are professionals here and out there. You don't have to come to Clear Journey, but we hope you do, because we have those advisors here that we can help you on that journey. As a matter of fact, the Dexter was here last couple weeks ago, and he offered to be able to counsel or to assist someone for free if they were to just email us debt free. Just email us debt free in the subject line, and for two people, that he would work with them for free for a year to help them on their journey to wealth building for a year for free. So understand this. If you were just to do that, just email me debt free at email at info@clearjourney.org. He will help you for free for the first two. That's all he said he would do. He's already done one for us, and he said that he would do three. So we're going to continue to offer it until those other two put that information, send that information to us. Just put in the head debt free, and we will give you that and give him your information. He will be in contact with you to help you on this journey. But that's what we're all about here, is to assist you in your journey. Now, whether or not you hear this on the recording or you're hearing this live tonight, as soon as we get those two people that say debt free in there in that subject line and send that email to info@clearjourney.org, that's when that will be over. But just to let you know, there are other resources that we have for you here at Clear Journey. Again, you can go to clearjourney.org or just send me an email that you're looking for assistance in that area, and I'll be happy to help you and direct you to some areas or to professionals that can assist you in that area. When we were talking about ways to eliminate debt using your assets to help and assist you in doing that, there are mortgage brokers, there are people out there that can help you do that. But this is what this is all. Stay informed about your personal finance topics. Understand what your options are. You know, just don't get stuck in thinking that the way I've been doing it is the way I have to continue to do it. No, things are changing, and as much as you learn, the more options you can have. This is just the beginning. This insight here tonight is just the beginning. This is to propel you into seeking more and more information and knowledge so that you can navigate your finances and reach the financial goals that you desire. Considering finding a financial advisor, financial planner, someone that can take a real big look, a view at your goals and give you assistance in helping you accomplish them. Okay. Now, the thing that I was telling you about, I wanted to share with you, had to do with some technology and some apps that can assist you. I'm just going to read them. Again, I don't have Oliver with me tonight So I'm going to read some of these apps to you. And if you want this list, just again, just send me an email at info@clearjourney and say you want the list of apps that can help you with your finances, and I will send you this list. But the first one is called Rocket Money, and it's all.com, rocketmoney.com. And this app is best used for those who are bill navigating. They're navigating their bills. They're basically um, wanting to pay their bills down in a way that's the best way for them. Um, Simplify, another one. It's best used with Quicken users. If you are Quicken, way you're using Quicken, they said Simplify is basically interchangeable. It really seamlessly connects with those that use Quicken. YNAB, best for zero-based budgeting. Now, this is interesting because it's basically talks about you put your amount that your money in, and then it deducts it. So you can actually see your money as you put your budget or you put your expenses in, it deducts from your income. And so every month you put it in and then you just see it and you end up at zero every month. And that really tells you that you've allocated all of your money. Um, then you got Buddy. It's best for frequent bill splitters. However, if you're splitting bills, paying bills partially now, or you're paying with someone else, they said Buddy is a good app to use. Then you got Zet, best for the family. And then you got Wally, and it says best for goal-oriented budgeters. And then you got Pocket Guard, best for paying off debt. And this is one that I really like. It's called Everyday. Oh, no, it's called Every Dollar, best for first-time budgeters. If you're a first-time budgeter, it's really pretty simple to use. So it's called Every Dollar. And then you have the last one is Optimum. It's best for hands-off approach. Now, I'm not familiar with that, but that would be something that's very interesting. Hands-off approach. I don't know how much that's going to be, but if you want to try that out, if you're interested in any of these, just send me an email. I will send them to you in hope that it will help you and assisting you in your financial journey and in your wealth building um, journey. Um, Again, I hope if you have been joining us here that you found something that you like, that you would hit the like button and or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really would appreciate that. I didn't say that in the beginning, but yes, if you would please um, subscribe to our channel where we can bring you more information and resources that can help you on your journey. We want to be your resource for life, to be honest with you. That's it. Everything in life, we want to be that resource for you. Oliver is not here tonight. He'll be back with us next week. Hopefully you'll be back also. And as usual, we can't change life, but we can surely help you navigate it. And one thing I do want to let you know, we do have a book that we would like for you. We want to give it to you. If you would just send us an email and say you want our book, the Budgeting Made Easy ebook. Just send us an email that you want it. We'll send it to you for free. It's an ebook. It's something that we want to give to you to help you on your journey. So if that's what you desire, please just reach out to us and we'll be happy to send it to you. Again, like I said, we can't change life, but we can help you navigate it. And that's what we're here to do. So until next time, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you next time.